Good afternoon, it's Friday. My weekend has started here. This is only a good thing. Weekends are not long enough, you know that? As a child, you are blissfully unaware of a lot of these things. But sadly, as an adult, one thing that is for sure very noticeable is that evening and weekends don't half rush by in a bit of a flash. So, let's get down to business. I have dogs trying to jostle for favourite spots. That's fine. So, we are not doing too badly actually. So we tied off 5 pairs of bobbins yesterday, which is a good thing. And well, I didn't fancy doing this square. Now, it's not like it's hard work. I mean, you know, I'm not shoveling coal here. But I don't like doing partial ones, and I was tired. And to be honest, because I've now done my 40-hour week, I'm tired. So, it's not a square that brings me joy to make. I mean, I don't hate it. I really don't. I just struggle with it a bit because I just struggle with it a bit. So let's put you up there. So for you, we're going to see what we can manage today. So I need 4 of you. Oh, now comes only 3 of you. That doesn't feel right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's because it's 4 of you. Right. So. I was a couple of minutes late starting because, well, my body, it took that moment to go, well, you could really have a bit more Coke in your cup. And while you're up, you could go to the loo. And so I do apologise for being a couple of minutes late. For those watching on YouTube, of course, it doesn't really matter. I do encourage you, the YouTube people, to come see me live, because then you get to interact directly with me and ask me questions. And know that your choices will be forever immortalised in my YouTube video. I really wanted a nap this afternoon. But a nap is not the thing, for it is lace time. And as we get into it, my brain will wake up a little bit more. So, how do I want to do this? Oh, excuse me, a lot. Doesn't really matter which way around I do this, for it ends up a lot of bobbins, or whatever I do. The biggest problem with this is that all of these bobbins and all of these bobbins end up in play. Pardon me. Now, I'm going to go this way, for it is my more natural direction. Christy, how you doing? I'd rather be napping, but it is lace time, and once I've gotten a bit more into it, and my body's kind of moved around a bit more, and done a few things, I'm sure it won't mind too much. But right here, right now, I could really go for a nap. A nap sounds very enjoyable, but it is lace time. You said something the other day about joining. About understanding joining. And now I'm a little confused because I need 2 pairs of bobbins and I've only got 1. I'm assuming I screwed up somewhere. I did screw up somewhere. Shocker. Let's undo you a little bit then. Try and shuffle you round a bit more. Make a bit more room. Do you know how to do a join here? So at the end of the square, do you know how to do that join? Because we tied off 5 bobbins the other day, so if we get to the bottom, it's basically the same deal. So joins really are very simple. If you've got a piece of lace and you want to join it to the next piece, you pull the pin out, and using a tool of your choice, crochet hook or something similar to this, you poke through the pinhole and it brings up this in a kind of D shape because the pinhole will trap that down. You then pull this up, slip one of the bobbin pairs through it, and then as you pull it back out, it now makes this one a loop. You then pass this one through the loop. You have now joined your 2 pieces of lace together in situ. Put off the thing you can do sewing-y things, and I think, and as I said to you, I need to do a number of strips because I need. The problem is I've only ever seen real references to the standard sewing. I have never seen references to any other kind of join. Now, while I am confident there are other joins, I cannot find a single reference to one of them. I need you for a minute. There. You come out of there. Because I'm stupid somewhere. Well, I know exactly where I'm stupid, but and I should have realised when I had too many left but I didn't. So now you are from there. So now you're on the right side of everything. You come out there, and now you well, you see, I've come up with a number of ideas of how to potentially join strips together. One involves, instead of making a straight edge like this one, you have an additional pinhole so that now the straight edge bends as if there was a pinhole there, but you just bend the thread around it. So you make little loops of thread. Then, as you come to join it, you do a standard sewing join, which is effectively a lark's head, and pull it through so that it joins firmly in where the pin would normally have joined. The second one, you do a picot. I hate picots. Fuck picots. And you use that as your pinhole, and you join through the pinhole, which would then give you the pinhole marks that you kind of get with this. But of course, these pinholes can disappear. Picots do not. I've then also considered that if you have sewing needles, plural, and 2 threads, you could kind of complicatedly sew them together, putting twists in, and actually mimicking going in and out of the other threads. Even though they come in and go out, you could still do something that would be close enough. And I have ideas, but I need to try them. Now, all 3 of those should be fairly invisible. Rather than the more bullshit way that you get with, say, these joins, or well, exactly. This is my problem, and this is why I need so many strips, because but things. But I don't want to spend 2 weeks making a strip, needing to make, say, 6 strips, 8 strips. I don't want to be doing months on it for something that, as I have pointed out, even with this one, only I'm going to sit. And I'm probably not going to pay it an awful lot of attention. So, it's kind of wasted effort. Now, learning things is not an entirely wasted effort, in my humble opinion. I enjoy learning things, and to me, that is a good thing. But at the same time, if only I'm going to see it. You know, the strive of perfection is a little unnecessary. That's right. Need teaspoons. Because the truth of the matter of where this curtain will live is that this curtain will be at the top of my stairs, which means that I will see it at basically 2 points of the day, potentially, on the way to bed and the one way back from bed. Well, on the way back from bed, one is not at one's most awake status. As a result, do you really honestly think I'm going to see all of it in infinite glory? No, I almost some days can't tell you if there was a window there or not. So, and of course at night, it's dark. And it's on the way up, so I am really walking across the side of it and away from it. It's only in the morning when I walk towards it, and of course, well, I'm not the most awake person at this point. So to be honest, you could probably dye it pink and I wouldn't notice. Yeah. I mean, well, and this is the thing. I mean, I do like my excursions, my experiments, my trials of other things, food for thought ideas, and I'm all up for some of that. But the problem is when the bits of strip that you need to make maybe will take you, because you know, as I'm sure you'll appreciate, making two things the size of postage stamps isn't really going to give you a clear idea of how well it works. Because, well, frankly, you can do a lot in a really short bit. And even if you completely fudge it up, well, it's only short. It doesn't really show. It doesn't prove to you that you know you can do decent tension on it, or that you've truthfully, artfully joined it in as an invisible manner as you would like. It's only when there's a decent strip of it and you can say, look at it at really close, not so close, and far, far away, that you can truly decide how well you are happy with it. For example, part of me, the insane part of me, would love to do some net curtains for my patio doors. Now, it's not because I don't enjoy looking out of my patio doors. I really, truly do. What I dislike slightly more are the number of frickin' birds who fly into them. And a light bit of lace over the door with a couple of spots of pattern on it could look quite pretty. I also might hate it, but of course they're standard patio doors. They're like 45, well, they're more than 45 centimetres wide because they're wider than the window, and well, they're like 6 foot tall. This is not a weekend project, you know. If it was a weekend project, great, but it's not. I mean, Christ alive, it would take me quite a while to. I mean, if I was to crochet that in Tunisian crochet, which is one of my fastest abilities, because I can even put patterns in it and not really slow down, unless I need new colours or whatever. But still, most of 2 weeks. And that's, of course, a full window covering that is not what I'm after. You know, so I find myself kind of trapped a little bit because some of the experiments require an awful lot of prep work. And of course, as you well know, lace making isn't like crochet where you can grab a stick and some string and go mangle, 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 mangle. Yeah, okay. Frog, 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 frog. And almost have nothing to show for it. First of all, of course, with lace, you need to chop. You need to wind your bobbins. And of course, chop the thread to go on the bobbins. So you can't put it back, for starters. Secondly, there's a lot of twisty, it's not naughty, but it might as well be naughty, so you can undo it. Well, you see, and this is kind of the issue. I'm thinking, a lot of people like their net curtains to be kind of wiggly and dangle gracefully. I like mine flat against the window. So I have the advantage that I only have to make the exact width of the window. But even so, it adds up. And hats off to you, love, if you want to make an 8.8 square metre freaking bit of lace. Seriously? What flavour, what flavour sweet? Oh, dear Jesus Christ. Love, that's a window and a half. Really? Oh, dear God, no. I'm thinking even my 3-pane window in here, that's only like 2 metres wide. We don't have anything like that in the UK. Not usually. I mean, my co-worker has a bay window, which is 5 windows wide, which would be 3.5 meters. But I would make individual window portions, not one piece. But even so, I did say to you, because you went, well, how much? And I kind of went, well, if it takes me 18 months to do, say, a window, because approximately, that's kind of the speed I seem to be working at, and you've got 5 windows, well, then clearly it's going to be like 7 or 8 years, and are you paying my salary for that? And he kind of went, no. I said, if I can find a way to do it at a rate that makes it feasible, I'm not against the idea of doing it. But I'm also more likely to be dead by the time I get to the end of it. See, I'm quite lucky in that I've got French windows, so I've got doors that open like this. So door 1, door 2, and you would put an individual thing on each door. So, but I will, as I said, it's got to be 60 or 70 centimetres wide and about 2 metres tall per door. So although the doors probably are 2 odd metres plus between them, the actual window portion is smaller, so I can do a smaller portion of that, and I do them per door. So my old house did have patio doors with the slidey door. But you see, I would never have made that as one door because you've got a door that slides with the other one, so I would want 2 separate pieces because one goes inside the other. Or one goes one side or the other. It's not inside, obviously. But damn, that's a big, that's big. But I also totally understand it because I'd love to. Now, one thing I have considered, and I'm still considering because, well, until I get to the end, I don't have to formally decide, is to whether I give up on this curtain at 9 squares so that it becomes a half window decoration. Because that could still look good. That really could still look good. And especially with the squares I do feel will detract from the prettiness. But once again, I pretty much only am going to look at it when I'm not awake in the morning. Does it really matter? Now, one of the things I have considered, and as you know, basically if there is a more complicated, bigger, fancier way of doing it, my brain's going, yeah. So, I totally relate to ending up needing a 4 metre frigging bit of lace. My heart goes out to you, but at the same time, totally get it. Mine wants to do, now bear in mind, I don't do flowers. I do not do patterns. This is me being really out there for me, right? But there is a piece of my head, the brain cells of excitedness, the other me, the arsehole me that I spend my life battling against, basically wants to do Bucks Point style flowery things. So you draw like a big rose with leaves on it and you kind of cloth stitch in colour, just because, well, my brain's an arsehole. And you end up with something that I have seen pictures of this. Hang on. Now, let me see if I can find the pictures because I had them only the other day. See if I can find it. No, that's just savagely. It's not that. No, I don't want freaking Etsy. There was things There was things. I had things. I had a thing. Let me... see if I can find it here. That's the words. So, my brain suddenly decided, no, I wanted that picture. I wanted that picture, thank you. I hate it when you click on something and it says, hey, click on to go to that picture. You click on it and it don't. Yeah, it's not the picture I wanted. See if I can find a different picture of the same thing. Hang on. Share it with you in a sec. Bear with me. Because I mean, in theory, this is well within my ability. In practice, maybe not. You know. Ooh, what's that? Hang on. Yeah, whatever. No, that's just proves that that's what I thought it was. So that doesn't help. But thanks for that. But that's not what I was looking for. You'll have to do with a really bloody awful picture that is a small fragment on a page, because of course when I click on it, it no longer goes there. Oops, just dropped my phone. Hang on. What's that? Does that take me to the thing I wanted? Whatevs. No, I don't want to sign up or log in. I just want to view the damn pictures, if you don't mind. Yeah, I see, that's just a bloody awful picture and not what I wanted. That's the second time I've clicked on one of those pictures and it's taken me to something that was not it. Let me show you this. As I say, it is not a very big picture, so I want to see if I can do something about that. No, click that. Click. So, as I said, I unfortunately have to tell you that this is not the best view I could get of it, because, well, it's not. I need to change you. No, you're good. For some reason, why are you in Chrome? Maybe that's why you're being funny. Okay. Okay. Whatevs. So, on the right, you can see a shawl. What is not clear from the shawl, other than it's French, is how it's made. It is. No, of course there's ads. Right, it should be back now. So, on the left is a Chantilly style shawl with colour. And as you may see, it's called Polychrome de Corso. In essence, there are better pictures of it close up, which look remarkably like this. And all it proves is that it is a Bucks Point style, because bear in mind the only difference between Chantilly and Bucks Point is that in Bucks Point you do cross, twisty, 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 and in Chantilly you do twisty, 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 cross. But you can still do cross, twisty, 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 they just call that one closed. Whatevs, right? But it is basically Bucks Point, and that the coloured threads are woven across very much in the style of cloth stitch stroke a woven in gimp thread style. So in that particular one, you can actually make out, if you squint at some of the bits, that the gold thread at, say, at the top is not two sets of threads doing a cloth stitch, but one thread, fat thread at that, going backwards and forwards in a zigzag manner between the pins. So thinking about that and some of the other pictures that are available, some of them look more like coloured cloth stitch. I'm sure we're capable of putting in a worker pair that's coloured. We could achieve this. And my brain has decided now that this is what it wants to do. Bear in mind, I don't like patterns. But it's decided that this is what it wants to do. And again, this is in the same style. And again, you can kind of see that it's a very cloth stitch looking thing in a Bucks Point scenario. Oh dear, have I found you another thing? Sorry. I might be able to help you with one of them. But this is the style of lace that they used to join. And so, to be honest, Bucks Point is even harder to join more invisibly than torchon, in my humble opinion. But not and make it look as invisible as they do. Now, I can tell you now that the shawl that's made behind is not made in one piece. It is joined. And so, for example, if you look at this, you know, this is half stitch. This is definitely cloth stitch. You know, this is, in essence, Bucks Point, gimp thread, cloth stitch. Halle frickin' Luya, right? It is no more complicated than that. And so, although it's called Chantilly, it is the same shit. I know, because I have a video on how to do Chantilly, and I've watched it. And the difference is cross, twisty, 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 or twisty, 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 crossed. But what bit don't you understand on how to make it? Because there's a couple of times you've said to me you want to understand how. Well, we know how. The only thing that I cannot find true information on is how the Chantilly people joined their stuff together. Other than there were dedicated ladies who did this. And the irritating woman on YouTube knows how to do it because she went there and learnt it, but doesn't share. I have not found a single thing on how to do that. Hence, I've got to work it out for myself. I know how to theoretically make the lace. I just don't know how, at this time, for a fact, how to join it. Or if I can do it well enough that I would be satisfied by it. Because just because I know how, like picots, doesn't mean that they come out good. Picots hate me and I hate picots, so that's fine. But, you know, I know that that doesn't work for me. That picots and I just hate each other. But how to make the lace is really, really easy. We've done plenty of it as diversionary videos on this channel before. That one I showed you yesterday, the one with the light, I was showing the other day. Hang on. It's hidden under my pile of stuff on my desk. It's around here somewhere. Hang on. Right. But this is where I get confused sometimes. You say you know how to make it, and then you say, but you're looking for how. And I'm like, but you've just said you know how to do it. So I get confused, and I don't understand what it is that you're trying to find out. Because maybe I know the answer, but I can't help because I don't know what the question is. Because believe me, I've watched a lot of videos and read a lot of books because that's the kind of weirdo I am. Often I know how, but have not done it yet, or am shit at it. A bit of both. So this is Buck's Point done on a torsion grid. Because you can. So I had a bookmark, so I made it in Buck's Point style. Hence, it's stretchy. Because that's what Buck's Point does. Putting colours in this, piss. We can all do that. Right, but when we talked about this on Discord the other day, you said you knew how to do, you'd got information on how to do others, but at the same time, I haven't found how to do others, and I would love if you could share where you have found to do others, or how it says to do others. Because, you know, like I say, I've got a number of ideas of how we could do others. I know how to do one called lassen, which I think is the most ugly, stupid thing for what I'm trying to do, because it doubles up on everything, and then you over sew it and like do blanket stitch down all the sides, and it would be as fat, frankly, and it shows, and it really does show a lot. But that is not designed for Buck's Point style of lace, or Chantilly lace, or anything that delicate. It's designed for something a lot fatter, where joins really do need to be almost like swing a cat from. Doesn't feel right somehow. Yes. So, you know, if you've got pointers to other joints, I would appreciate them. As I've said, I kind of run down some of my ideas of joins, of things I know I need to try, because I believe they are similar to how some of the joints would be, because you can't get up close enough to any to see, because they're all in wretched cases and in other countries, and I don't have a passport, so, you know, going to see it's not exactly a thing. But it is something that I know isn't overly well talked about in the lacecaping community, and they gatekeep it. And that is something I would like to change. For, you know, it's like, you know, pandas are going to die out if they don't breed in captivity kind of thing. But you can't explain that to them. But with lace makers, we can. We can say, if you do not share your information and you gatekeep it and you hide it from people, and, you know, do not be surprised then if no one can do it in 30 years' time. Because that is your choice of gatekeeping it and making it awkward. Because, well, that's exactly what you're doing. You're preventing other people who want to learn, who maybe do not have the grant of millions to swan off around Europe learning lace, to learn this. So if you hide it and you hide behind going, well, I know how to do it, well, bully for you. You know, that's actually worse, because you know it, you make videos and you're not sharing. You know, I mean, no one says you have to do the perfect tutorial. Even if your video is a reasonably good video of you doing it, people will work it out from the video. But when we can't see anything, we can only have wild stabs in the dark. And this is part of my problem with this particular lady on YouTube, is she keeps flexing about, oh, well, of course, in... And and this is exactly the same problem I have, is that, like I was saying, is that here I am, I've got a number of ideas in my head I want to try. Hang on, just reporting a spam bot. But the problem is to make a reasonable sized test piece, because I don't believe that doing it on, a 2-inch bit of strip is sufficient. You need to have a good length to prove that you can continue it over a length without screwing it up. Because, well, you can do anything for a really short... I mean, I can hold my breath for a really short period of time, but not for a long one. Well, as a result, then, if, doing a piece of lace and getting the tension right, well, if you've only got this little bit to work on, well, it's going to be much easier to get your tension right. It's... So I want to... But I also kind of don't really want to, like you say, spend a lot of time making a sample just to join it together for no good reason, right? And, if you make, or either of us make, we both make even, random strips of ground stitch of whatever variety of lace you like, it's still going to take a while. And you don't really want to make it too thin, because you want to have a more window-sized picture in your mind at the end of it, as to, you've got to have a decent chunk, join a decent chunk, so you can be sure how obvious that join is. Because, back then, they managed to do it basically invisibly. Now, that is an art form and a skill, and not one that you're going to perfect first time right? I mean, you might not do a complete ham-fisted job of it, but there are chances are it's not going to look great. So then, of course, you might need to practice it. Well, then you need more things to join. And as I've said, you've thought of 4 ways of joining that lace. I've got at least 4. I've You know how, like, occasionally you kind of see an idea forming in your head, and then when you try and grab it, it's run away? I've got a few more that have done that to me, and I'm kind of like, I've nearly got it. Ah, you fuck. And it's wandered off, right? Some involve extra bobbins running parallel, making a strip on there and kind of joining either side. Some do it on the lace thing, some do it off the lace thing, some do it with kind of a needle and thread, some do it with it on the bobbin, but, like you say, to be confident that you have proved that the join is how you think it will work in your mind, because we all know that brain cells lie. They have good intentions, but they lie. And they go, oh, it won't show. Now, the lassen thing, hang on. Yes, oh, sorry, Rory. It was a box and it landed on you with bobbins in it. Come here, little man. Come on. Come on, puppies. Come on. Come on, it's all right. Oh, it's all right. It didn't hurt you. It didn't eat you. No. And it's not stolen your food. Come on. Come on. That's a good boy. Come on. You come back here. Come over here. Come here, Rory. Come on. Don't be such a freaking coward. It was a half-empty box of bobbins. I'll piss off the lot of you then. Right. Now, I don't think there's any on the cover of this book. Let me give this a good look. Because although there is, I also know there isn't. Because, of course, the cover of the book is like Queen's Best, you know? And to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure it's actually authentic. I actually think that it's kind of a computerized version, because there literally is no joining showing whatsoever. Whereas if I find the section of book, hang on, now that's easier said than done because I have to take my glasses off at the moment. There's the thing at the front. So like, oh, stop twitching because a car moved 3 years ago. Page 49. So, what they do, without trying to breach too much copyright, show you my below, is they oversew in a very zigzag format round lots of things. And they do it over a 2-inch extra section. So if you make like one of these, the idea is that you would make, if you started here, you would make down to say here and do all of that oversewing in that section. Well, frankly, that's going to show like a sore thumb, in my humble opinion. Yet it's really interesting that when I look at their pictures, there is literally no sign of it, even knowing what I know about how they intended to join it. There are literally no signs of a join, which, given how they're oversewing it, you would have to be able to see that. You know, at a really close view, which I am looking at as close as I can. And as a result, I'm not convinced some of these pictures are as genuine as you like. On the lace bobbin thing on Facebook, a guy's been doing it, and you can see his joins from outer space, right? Because, like I said before, if you've got normally, say, 2 bobbins, well, now you're making it 4 bobbins and oversewing the top. This has to show. So that method is already, frankly, out of the thing for me. My dog's just scarpered somewhere a bit quick. Let me have a quick look, because I need to check that there's no way out the front. Because there has been in the past. Hang on. You. Yes, you. No, they couldn't get out, but it looks like someone's thrown loads of post, you know, like the freebie post stuff that they're supposed to post through letterbox over my fence. I'll go and clean that up later. So, to me, that particular joining method is absolutely out of the question. And I can't see me ever wanting to do it in my entire existence, because it's just going to show. Plus, of course, you have to do extra length of lace just to join it together. Now, I don't mind making pieces and making a strip that joins the 2 pieces, to be fair. I can see a purpose in that. Just sit still, dog. I love you dearly, Rory. Yes, I do. But can you just sit still? Yes. I know I dropped the box of bobbins on you, and you were half asleep, and you didn't kill anybody or growl, which was a very good thing. But there you go. Come on. Oh. Now. You sit in there. Be a good boy. Jesus Christ, it's hard work, that dog, sometimes. But, you know, the whole kind of, I don't know, doing knots shit, well, that's clearly not going to join them together. That's not a plan. Because you're not likely, I mean, well, you could. You could make one panel and then make the next one by joining it to the first one, slowly unravelling it round the thing. Personally, I think would get quite unwieldy, but maybe it works. It's something you need to try. I think making a secondary, kind of thin slip in between, a bit like joining crochet squares, is potentially an answer. So you kind of, you don't have many bobbins. It is a really thin strip, but you make a strip with a couple of bobbins, almost like 4 bobbins. You start off with 4 bobbins, you go out round the other ones, and then come back in, do the dance in the middle, out round the other 2 pieces of lace, and back in round the middle. So I can see that. Will you just sit down? There is no long grass on my couch. And she looks so upset when I say that to her. She doesn't like having her trampling grass interrupted. Well, I don't like listening to you trampling my sofa, is the short answer to that, dear dog. For it is my sofa, and listening to you tramps and scuff up my pillows is, not that I have many cushions on my couch, but it's all you do, love. It is all that you do, yes. It is. And then you do this, which is you come and stand on me, but you don't stand on me. You maul me because you constantly move your feet. Then, of course, you put them in stupid places so they don't stay still. Then they slip, so you scratch and maul me some more. Yes. Yes, you do. Yes, you very much do. Yes, you do. Pup. Yes, you do. Do not give me that tone of fur. I can see it in your face. I can. And you are thinking very hard for you. If you rattle your ears right now, I will want to slap you. Just as a warning. I will want to. Very much. Oh, off you go. She's got into a bit of a habit recently. And she's one she needs to stop. Like all dogs, she rattles her ears when they itch a bit or got dog hair in it or whatever, right? But what she's taken to doing recently is she'll come up and stand on my lap, kind of trying to be all cute and whatever. And she will whack me with her ears. Now, she's not exactly a basset with like metre long ears here. Just sit the fuck down, dog. Her ears really are only like, yay long. But she smacks me in the face with them. And it's like being slapped by a human. Because, of course, it is a flappy, flat panel of skin. And it comes along and it whacks you in the face. It really does hurt. It can leave a sting. Now, it's not quite a handprint in that there's a bit of fur and there's not the weight behind it. But because when she rattles her ears, it's not just the one. It's a few. And as you're pulling your face away, you're not always quick enough. So you get, like, maybe the first one's a full whack, the second one's most of a whack, and the last one's the end of an ear. But of course, it's travelling the furthest. So that one stings. And it's not, she's got nothing wrong with her ears. There's nothing in her ears. There's no infection. There's no grime. That it doesn't need cleaning. She's just been a bitch. I love her dearly. I really, really do. When she's asleep. When we're awake and annoying, like most dogs, my dogs have some nicknames. So although Amy is Amy Kimber and Rory is Rory Kimber, officially. In practice, she is Amy Winehouse because she makes a lot of noise and she sings a lot. She's also a crackhead. He is Rory McPaws. Because he has... You can pretty much touch any part of Rory except his paws. He really doesn't like that. And do not try and cut his nails because, well, you're going to lose on that one. But he also won't do anything that helps wear his claws down. So he's kind of got 3-inch talons that are trying to come and kill you. But much as I love them, because I really do, like all human beings when you are trapped 24/7 with them, some of their antics just wind you up a bit. And so the ear flapping, the trampling of the grass on my couch. She does trample the grass on her own bed, but that's your bed. You can do what you like on your bed. This is my couch, or my bed. She doesn't tend to do it on my bed. She only tends to do it on the couch. But she's got a real thing about scuffing up the 2 cushions that live to the left of my couch. And I spend most of my day picking them up. Rory gets on the couch, lies down, and like now, he's probably half asleep. He got up, the cushion was there. You see, that's where I get confused. Making the colour pieces in lace, you just join the colour piece in where you want your cross stitch or whatever and use it as a worker. You substitute... You can either toss out a pair of bobbins and replace it with a colour pair, which is a lot of extra work, or just use... Carry the other... use it say, sake of the argument, your ground's all white. Use the white pair, join the colour pair in, do all the work in cross stitch, half stitch, whatever it is. Obviously, if it's half stitch, you can get away with adding 1 thread. Get to the bottom, tie it off, job's a good one. So, of course, it's the same stitches that are in your book. This is where my autism kind of doesn't understand how that's confusing, because one of the early torchon ground things people do is coloured diamonds in a bookmark. So proving it's the same shit, just says add some bobbins and go for it. So this is why I end up confused. I am easily confused on occasions. Do not take this personally. It's not necessarily a you thing. It is very much a me thing. But I am really confused because, well, I just am. Yeah, I know. And they cover that, like, you know, kind of like day 2 torchon ground, you know, torchon bookmark with, you know, they make you do one with, like, you know, some cloth stitch diamonds. And then day 2, here's add a colour pair, go for it. So yes, it is denser. And so obviously, you have to make a small amount of allowance for that. But it's not a lot of allowance, because obviously it's only 2 extra passives, really. It's an extra passive. It's a pair of passives, if you know what I mean. It's 2 threads, and of course these threads are tiny, so you know, you're not talking feet of difference here. You know, this is why I don't make a good trainer. There are times when I'm just going, but it's the same, and it is the same. As you say, it adds a pair of bobbins to the mix, but it's 1 pair of bobbins, but you still do the same. It's the same thing. And I think sometimes this is where people like me, who used to be called Asperger's, because we are high functioning, we have a high IQ, we just can't explain things. And for me, I find that nearly any craft I take up, I take to like a duck to water. Because nearly all crafts are made up of, frankly, a small number of movements repeated. You know, knitting and crochet is poke, wrap, pull. There are maybe more wraps, more pokes, and more pulls. And maybe you do some of bit and then you do it all overall. But it's still poke, wrap, pull. Weaving. You walk backwards and forwards and make lots of really long bits of string. You wind them around your loom. You thread them through some heddles. And the 99% of the weaving is stomp, throw, bash. Stomp, throw, bash, stomp, throw, bash. You stomp on different treadles, maybe even multiple treadles, but stomp, throw, and bash. Sometimes you do stomp, throw, bash, stomp, bash. Throw, bash, stomp. So you end up with beating on a closed and open shed. But not so often. But it's still stomp, bash, throw, some combination thereof. And because all lace making is reasonably made of cross or twist, I don't understand why people think it's complicated. I can't. Getting it right's complicated because your brain drifts off and does random weird shit at you. And which is why, you know, mistakes are made all the time. But it's not hard. It's not a hard thing to do. Because, you know, you can either lift one thing over the other or you can't. If you can't lift it, well, then you can't do it. If you can lift it, well, you can do it. This is where my autistic brain cell kind of goes, don't get it. And I sympathise that people can't do it, but I don't understand it. I can't relate to it. Because, you know, when I wanted to do a Bucks Point bookmark, I asked in the beginner's lace group, hey, anyone know some Bucks Point bookmarks? Because I didn't really want to make a strip of lace, because I don't need a strip of lace. Bookmarks are good, because at least you can give them to people and use them. And someone on the group had a real pop at me about how, despite my question purely stating that I wanted a Bucks Point bookmark, how I was obsessed with torchon. How did you come to that conclusion? I am specifically asking for a Bucks Point bookmark. I did not mention torchon. You mentioned torchon. I did not. I am asking. And she got really moody with me, and I was quite upset by it. And recently, someone else on the group had a similar problem. They asked for Bucks Point floral information. And loads of people, oh, well, you can do geometric. And no, he's asked for floral in Bucks Point. No one would answer his question. So he left. He got upset and he left. And I don't blame him because, you know, it's a beginner group. You ask for advice on, you know, where can I find some information? And it's like, hey, I'm getting I'm having to adopt a cat. Can anyone give me some advice on a cat? Well, of course, if you had a hamster, well, that's no freaking good to me. I'm not getting a hamster. I'm getting a cat. You know, it's meant well, and it's not deliberately done to piss you off and be awkward. But some people kind of make life complicated, and when you want a simple answer, you know, it's really difficult. So I do understand that people don't get it, but at the same time, I don't understand. I can't, because I always like to help, and you know, it's a flaw in my personality in that I really like to help, but I can't help if I don't understand the problem. And with a lot of the times, oh, you know, I don't understand. Well, you've been making those for 20 years, love. You can lift bobbins over each other. Just do that. And it always puzzled me whenever I went to, you know, when I taught myself to crochet, for example. I made one doily. And even though it was my first doily, and I don't like doilies, I made a change to it because I didn't like one bit of it. So I didn't do that bit. I changed how that bit worked because I could already see how it was. It's called fillet, and you basically fill in a square or don't fill in a square. And they can put little diagonals in to kind of shade it a little bit. But I didn't like how these looked. It looked scaggy to me. It's a bit like Picos. So I didn't do them. I left them blank. And I really liked the outcome. So knowing now that I need shaded squares and not shaded squares, I drew out a pixel thing. I made on a pixel editor, I drew out a thing, and I made it. And people go, oh, I couldn't do that. I've been doing this 20 years, but I couldn't do that. Darling, I've done it for like 2 hours, and I'm already making my own. What do you mean you cannot colour, get some squared paper and colour in a few squares and then do that in your... I don't see how they can not do that. My brain cannot comprehend not being able to do that, knowing exactly that's what it is. And so I do struggle, and I want to understand, but it's kind of... I'm almost blocked from understanding. And it's so frustrating. Don't need that, idiot. Because, as I say, I want to help. I want to understand. But I cannot I cannot see what the sticking point is. I mean, I'm usually good at finding other ways of explaining things. I'm usually good at alternative descriptions, mythologies, analogies. But, it's kind of like, 1 + 1 is 2. I don't get it. Well, it is. You have one, you have another one, now there's 2. Oh, I don't get it. Well, I don't care if you don't get it. It's just a fact. Go with it. Live with it. I can't explain it to you. You have one, you have another one, and now there are 2. And so, yeah, there are some bits that I just kind of can't see. I can't understand the confusion. Because like in those pictures we could see, some are done with cloth stitch, some, or half stitch or whatever, so done in a more traditional manner. And one was done with a fat gimp thread that they just wind backwards and forwards to pad it out. So it kind of fills in the gaps. Okay. Well, here you go. Whatever. I'm sorry. I don't understand, almost what there could be to understand that. Because, we know what half stitch and cloth stitch work out to be. So, what is there to be confused for? I don't know. As I say, I want to understand, but I just physically can't. I don't see how there is a confusion. This is why my co-worker's a really good guy, because sometimes, so for example, I'll explain something and people will kind of look at me like I've grown an extra head, and that's fine. And he will re-explain it, and I'll say to him, but isn't that what I said? And he went, basically, yeah. But they now understand it, whereas they didn't before. And I went, so why not? And he went, I have no idea. Because he understood it, and I mean, for example, I was talking to him about Chantilly lace and the fact that basically it is exactly the same as Buck's Point, down to a T, except they do this in that order and not this order. And if you ask him right here and now, he would remember that and tell you. He understood the difference. And it's kind of like, the man's never made a piece of lace, pretty much. I mean, he's seen lace from a distance, but he's certainly never really kind of done any. It's not something he's looked into. Yet he understands the difference. Because he's a good friend and he listens when I talk to him. And I do appreciate that, frankly, it's probably the most boring shit he's ever heard because it's not his bag. But then I listen to him about his problems, and so, fair's fair, right? But it's so frustrating. And sometimes that's hard. I mean, my mother taught me to knit, and I can tell you here and now, there was nothing about knitting my mother taught me that was right. And as a result, I spent my childhood hating knitting because everything she did and told me to do made ugly things. So for example, the way my mother made me do cast-ons and meant that they didn't stretch. So, of course, well, that wasn't much useful for anything good. I mean, the only time that's good, maybe a blanket, but we didn't make any of those. It was always jumpers. So that wasn't any good because you need a jumper to stretch a bit. Every time she changed yarn colours, she left a big, massive hole in it. Well, that looked pretty awful. Every time she increased, she left a massive hole in it. Well, that looked pretty bad. She didn't understand that there were even more than one kind of increase, or decrease for that matter. Everything she explained was wrong. About the only thing she did get right was poke, wrap and pull. Everything else, not so much. And don't get me wrong, she could knit fairly fast. But it was wrong. Achieving wrongness quicker is not a skill, right? And so I spent nearly 30 years of my life hating knitting because, well, anything I made didn't really work very well. If you make a jumper but the head hole doesn't go over your head, it's no good to you. As a child, all the jumpers I made, I was growing out of before I finished them because as a child, we are very slow knitters. All children are. They make mountains out of molehills. And I would get, at best, halfway up the back and I'd be growing out of it. So she'd finish it for me. So I never had the joy of finishing the item. So while I had contributed to it, that's all I'd done. I'd contributed towards it. I never had the joy of finishing. So I hated knitting because I just hated knitting. It was just something my mother made me do. It was only when I bust my knee and my brain went, hey, I want to learn double knitting. What? Fine. So I did because, well, I had insomnia and nothing better to be doing with my life. And as part of that, because you've got two yarns, one way to learn double knitting to start with is a yarn in each hand. Well, then you've got throw knitting and pick knitting. Well, someone discovered that she really liked pick knitting. Plus, she also watched videos from a lovely lady called Lucy Neatby, which covered how to do increases and decreases and cast-ons that didn't suck donkey balls. Well, knitting's not so bad now. I actually quite like knitting. I mean, I wouldn't say I want to give up my life and become a knitting person, but hello, my other project, one of my projects currently ongoing, is knitting little hexagons. I've got a number of these in a bag. Look, I've got some other colours. Look, I've got a blue one and a pink one and a dark blue one and a purple one. And I have, where is it? A beige one. And I have a black one. And somewhere here, there it is. And a grey one. And I have more of some of the other colours I am working on. Oh, it's got a corner pin. There we go. So I like knitting. I chose to do this. Whereas under my mother, I would have rather, kind of gone out in the garden and licked the grass. It's... As I say, for me, the biggest problem with a lot of these things is that I think it's a crafting thing. You hear far too many times, I couldn't do that. Well, you could if you tried. If someone told you how it works and, you've got the equipment, bet you could. Bet you could if you tried. But they always kind of go, oh, I couldn't do that. And it's almost like, well, and it's also, it's quite often you hear it in the tone that almost implies, I couldn't do that and wouldn't if I had the time and effort because I don't see the point. Well, that's good for you. That's really nice, but I do, and I'm enjoying it. So butt out, right? And I think, and so, when I hear crafty people kind of go, oh, I couldn't do that. Well, I bet you could if you tried, because it's really not that hard. It's really, really not that hard. Because you mentioned that you can do things in GIMP, I think I have found how you replicate a pattern in kind of like, for want of a better word, you make like a 5-pointed dice face, but the dots aren't complete in the corners so that when you join them to the next one, it completes the dot. I think I found out how you do that because, well, knowing that it's possible, I kind of looked around some options and, well, what do you do? Okay, it's not what I thought. Okay, what do you do? Oh, okay, I can see that could be useful. And, I had a bit of a poke. I'm not confident in it, and I'm not confident I did the right sizing or anything of the sort. But I had a bit of a laugh trying. And I think sometimes that is one of the things that holds back a lot of crafters is they are scared to try. And lots of crafting groups kind of go, there isn't a crafting police. No one's going to come at you if you do your stuff differently. And I think especially true with lace making. Because the honest truth about lace making, of course, is that it's not about what you do. It's about being consistent at doing it. So whether you do rose ground with 1 twist, 2 twists, whether you do an extra twist there or an extra twist there, frankly, actually, it doesn't matter. As long as you're consistent with it. It's only when you're not consistent that it matters. Now, you can do variations on a theme in the right manner. So for sake of the argument, you could do a different rose ground in each of the 3 squares, for example. Or maybe just different in the middle. And that would be perfectly acceptable because it's a separate chunk, and as long as, again, you consistently did it, it would look great. Do you do 1 twist here or 2? Doesn't matter as long as you always do the same number. Lace is really forgiving. Really it is. There are some kind of traditions, but no one's going to come and shoot you for not putting, 3 twists and you did 2 or you liked 4. If you have a slightly wider grid because you wanted it to be a little bit more open and light, well, then maybe you put a couple of, maybe in some places you do more twists because, well, it's open area and light. Or maybe you want it to look denser, so you do as many twists in a really short period that it hasn't really quite got the room for, so you make it kind of chunky. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like the knitters who look really down on people for using acrylic. Now, some acrylic yarn is really, quite frankly, horrible. But some acrylic isn't. Some acrylic is the softest yarn I've ever used. And depending on who you're giving it to and what you're doing with it, it is the right answer. So, enter ex-hubby again. I, during lockdown, made ex-hubby a woolen jumper. And very quickly, due to the fact that he smokes, he managed to successfully burn a lot of holes in it. To the point this thing looked so moth-eaten, it was ridiculous. Now, he does know how to wash it. He does know that you're supposed to wash it flat and, gently and basically hand wash it. And he did take good care of it from that point of view. But not everybody would. So if I was giving it to someone who I didn't feel was as confident on how to look after it, I would never have made him a wool jumper in the first place. Now, when he'd finally managed to burn enough holes in it, I made him another jumper. This time, I made it of acrylic. I didn't tell him, but I made it of acrylic. Because it can take far more abuse. It doesn't burn as easily should a small cinder of fag land on it. And, it doesn't need washing flat. You can sling it in the washing machine, it won't mind. And all this kind of thing. So he doesn't have to take such great care of it. And it cost a lot less in yarn. And so, well, frankly, hallelujah. And, it's not that, I didn't want him to have a nice jumper. But, as the first one didn't really survive very well for longevity, now he's had that other jumper, and he does wear it, for a couple of years now. And it still looks pretty good. Again, it doesn't pill like a wool jumper would. So it's the perfect answer. I find blankets are best done in acrylic yarn because, again, it doesn't stretch as much. The colours tend to be more colour fast so they don't bleed. And a wet wool blanket is as heavy can get. An acrylic blanket, not so much. So, again, you can sling it in the washing machine and it'll be fine. So it's easier to take care of it. So all these things matter when it comes down to it. It's not... But you get an awful lot of kind of yarn snobs. Oh, well, of course, if you use acrylic... Oh, how can you call yourself a crafty person if you use acrylic? Well, yes, I know it's plastic. And I know how it's made. And frankly, it is quite gross when you look at it, how they make it. But depending on the yarn that comes out the other end, some of it is so super soft. It is absolutely sensible for babies because you need to wash it morning, noon and night. Well, then wool is not going to take that very well. Acrylic will. Plus, you can frankly all but boil acrylic. So, you can do that. You can put it in a really hot washing machine and get the poop stain and the vomit out. And it doesn't mind. It's not going to shrink on you or grow on you or melt all the colours off. It doesn't do any of that. I mean, that just shows how indestructible it is, but that's the point. Sometimes you want it to be. I know there are lace makers who would frown because I'm making this with cotton and not silk. It's a net curtain. Who would make a silk net curtain? Or, sorry, who in their right mind would make a silk net curtain? A silk shawl? Maybe. Silk for clothing? Maybe. I'm not making yardage just to stick in a window with the most expensive stuff on earth. No. I mean, to be honest, if I could almost make it out of polyester and be happy. And it is one of those things is that people can get quite bent out of shape over, oh, well, of course, you've not afforded one of these. You're just not in the crowd. You're not trying unless you have one of these. And can we not do that to people? Not everybody has the opportunity to swan around Europe with a grant learning lace and buying, tons of stuff. And not everyone can afford to do that. Not everyone can afford to, buy a crap load of this and buy the best in show at that. Sometimes they end up using like pen caps and a lid of an ice box like I was using. I actually used wooden dolly pegs, but that's not the point. You know, you're not everyone can afford, especially when starting out, to buy the creme de la creme to find out they don't actually enjoy doing it. You know, I would not buy a silk ball gown, you know? Yeah, I've never been any good at the burn test. I mean, some things burn, and if it smells like tires, then it's plastic. That's fine. But some of the more nuances for what it is. Um, I mean, I'm lucky in the fact that I bought this. It's cotton. I bought this, and it's linen. I mean, I know this because it says so on the packet, right? Um, I don't have mystery things. So from that point of view, I have an advantage. Awesome. Cotton is a good option. I quite like the idea of linen, just because I quite like the idea of linen. So hence I got a few colours to play with, because, well, I can. No, but much like the doing strips to test a thing, I kind of want to do some linen stuff, because linen historically has always been good for houseware, and it is better wearing in long term than cotton. So there is a bit of me that feels a need, so I bought some to make some, to try, say, my experiments in linen, because while the joins themselves will work the same in both, it gives me the chance to see how it feels and works in a linen as well. So I would combine the two tests and do some colourful things along the way, just to make it slightly less boring than making, big strips of plain ground stitch. Do a bit of fun along the way. Just to prove, again, to prove that I know what I'm doing, and that maybe I've got the right gauge for it, all of those kind of moments. So, yeah, if I've already got what I need and it's what I plan to do with it, that's fine. But on this situation, I really wanted to try some linen, so trying some linen I will. It is a hair thinner than this, but it is literally almost indescribable. From the human eye's worth, you can't tell this is thinner. You really can't. I mean, if I put this next to it, it looks the same. So yeah, I so I'm gonna kind of play with that, to be honest, just because I can. Because it gives me the opportunity to. I mean, I do understand working with silk is a bitch, so other than as I said, no one in their right mind would make a net curtain out of silk, so not going there. Bookmark maybe, clothing piece, edgings, whatever. Yeah, I can see that. But no one in their right mind is going to want to spend that much money on making net curtains out of silk. Just no call for it whatsoever. All right, little man. not looking too bad. Do I do the next chunk or leave it till tomorrow? I think, given that I really wanted a nap when I started this today, I'm going to take my leave of absence. I think. I appreciate that. You know, it's not very convenient for you for me to sod off now, but. So what I would do next would be either this cloth stitch bit here, or this ground stitch here. Tomorrow evening, I'm usually wide awake, kind of late, so with any luck, because I can nap all I like during the day, excuse me, I think we can make considerable effort, and we're still on course to finish before the end of the week. So the problem is, at the end of the week, I need to reset up for the next square, and this takes me a little while, but at the same time, even if I choose to go on a bit of a diversion, having completed square number 6, I still need to do a lot of prep. So whatever I do, I need to do a lot of prep. So I think if I quit now, upload the video, do all of that kind of stuff, with any luck, I can actually do... Well, I can't... You see, if I keep going with the squares, I can't do any prep work until I finish this one. If I go with a side project, I can do some stuff towards the side project. But at the same time, for every side project, the more time we add to this. So, I might be able to do setting up a side project, but it's not side project to do on stream so much. As I said, you know, the other day, is that doing it in a bit of a mixture of on and off. Because to be honest, the actual point of the side quest would be joining, not making of strips. It would make sense to have something potentially to do. It is difficult to have so many things on the go because you've got to have somewhere to put them and store them in a reasonable manner. And, well, that can be an issue. But, as I said, I think for today, let's take a little picture. Move you out the way to give a bit of... take a picture. Here we go. Cover up. As I say, thank you for joining me. I will be back late tomorrow, so likely 30 hours time from now, somewhere in that kind of region, 29, 39 hours from now. Because I do want to try and keep up doing some late night streams so that it's at a more friendly time zone for other people. For some of the other people. Because obviously, while 2 o'clock till now is great for me, most of the UK would never have been able to watch that. But then tomorrow, if it's too late, well, they're not likely to watch it either. So I have to try and juggle my times around a bit, which is why during the week, most of the time, it's about the 7 o'clock time, because that's 7 here, 8 in Europe, and allows people in their evening to, you know, sitting at the dinner, staring at me doing it, whatever that takes their fancy. Maybe doing a bit of crafting alongside. Obviously on Friday I do an afternoon one, which means it's either stupid early in America or late kind of, you know, Australian time. And so it gives everyone an opportunity. I mean, last week was a little disappointing in numbers, but the first time I did it, I got quite a few. So I feel that there is worth in keeping trying to do it, especially as I am one of these people who, for the next 4 or 5 hours, I feel really, really tired. Come 10 or 11 o'clock at the night, the next thing I blink and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm wide awake and on fire and doing things at this time. So, yeah, I'm a weird person. But I'm glad you could join me, and I shall hopefully see you at the weekend or next week. Take care. Bye-bye.